Welcome to Mindfully Integrative Podcast with your host, Dr. Damaris G. Mindfully Integrative is a podcast discussing ways toward mindfully incorporating integrative health into our lives. This podcast will have informative resources, fun topics, interviews, and discussions relatable for today with a true mindful perspective in a mind-body, holistic life approach.
Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, and this is the Mindful Integrative Show. Today, we have a wonderful mindful chat with Mary Savarese. She is an award-winning author. She's a mom. She's also written and can tell you so many different things in her life that's kind of transformed her change. And she can talk more about being an empty nester and how that kind of changed her views and such. So please welcome and thank you for being on the show.
Hello, Dr. Damaris. It's my pleasure to be here with you today.
I'm so excited for you to be here and just kind of, you're an award-winning author. So how many books have you written just in general?
I have written 2 books. The second book that I wrote is the first of a trilogy. So I am currently in editing for the book to be published by the end of the year. And then the following year, the third will be published. I am still, I wouldn't call myself a debuting author, but I'm still a young author and I'm learning a lot. And it's so much fun and wonderful. And to be in a situation like this, to meet wonderful people as yourself, it's terrific.
Very, very cool. So so I know I kind of ask a little fun facts, what people may not know about you, and that you'd like to share.
What I would love to share is that, and I'm humbled, I'm an award-winning author, bestseller, speaker, fiction author. And what I would love to share with your audience is that it was always my goal at some point in my life to be traditionally published. And I'm an overnight success, a 10-year overnight success. It took me 10 years before my first manuscript was officially accepted, and I signed a contract, and it was at a big birthday I was approaching, and I said, God, what am I going to be, 100 years old before this happens to me? And he answered my prayers, and sure enough, I signed a contract. But I am known as an author who writes with quirky titles. I love to write in fantasy, and here I am talking about mindful integrative, and I love to sit there and to write about fantasy and bring my readers into a different fantasy world, because I think real life is too real.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, no, but you're kind of bringing them into like your own little guided story, and that kind of lets them let go of whatever the day is bringing for them.
Yes.
Really neat. How, so as we just briefly spoke right before, how it has, your life kind of transitioned where you're, this amazing author, amazing mom, but, made you kind of say, hey, I really needed to make some changes, or some things, popped up in my life that needs a little different.
Well, thank you. It's one of the reasons that I did reach out to you, because we as women, and it's not just being an author, a mom, wife, we wear all these hats, and we're constantly changing them, and we're constantly putting so much more on our shoulders each and every day. And then when we start to go this way or that way, or we start to topple forward, there's something not right in our lives, we tend to push it back and say there's nothing wrong. And that's what I did. So many years ago, as I said, I had this joy in my heart to write, and I was submitting manuscripts. And at that point in my life, I had 3 children. So 2 had already graduated, had gone on, were adulting. The youngest at that point was still in her senior year of college. And I'm always, this is wonderful. I'm going to be an empty nester. I have this whole new life ahead of me, all these wonderful things. Well, something hit me in the side of the head. And she had not left yet. This was a year before she was scheduled to graduate. And I had physical symptoms where I was experiencing, I thought, neuropathy, something's not right. I think I have a brain tumor. My brain, my mind was trying to tell me something. Even though on the outside, I was saying everything is wonderful, I'm smiling, I'm this. And I began to deal with all these physical, like numbness in my legs. Mm-hmm. And I kept fighting it. There's nothing wrong with me. I can deal with this. And finally, it took the point of me going to visit the doctor. They did all these tests, nothing wrong. And they said, Mary, okay, let's talk about this. There's something else going on. Mm-hmm. And I was dealing with extreme anxiety to the point where it was becoming debilitating. And I was still
manifested.
Right. And I was still fighting it. No, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. And my brain was still knocking. And today, I'm happy to say I've crossed a bridge. I've learned so much. And that's why I love to share all this information with your audience.
It's important. It's important for you to share what you like, but also just for people to understand, like, you're a probably fairly healthy woman, great family, great life overall. And you're trying to figure out what in the world manifested in your life that you're like, why am I having this severe anxiety? And then for it to then become a physical, debilitating illness. Yeah. People don't even realize how much mental health really is physical, and that they just coincide. It's just a matter of where it will manifest or how the stress will come onto the body. So what exactly was it that transitioned this kind of high anxiety for you? Well, you said being an empty nester was the number one.
Well, it was as I came to find out, it was a mental health issue. So the first thing the doctors normally do, and I followed along with it because we want immediate help, right?
Of course.
Was they said, okay, we'll put you on anxiety medication. Wonderful. I did that. But I also went into therapy. And my whole life, I don't need therapy. As you said, I'm healthy. I've always had anxiety, but I was able to deal with it. And I did go into therapy. And the therapy is what actually helped me realize what was happening. And I want to say in the short run, in the first month, it did make me realize something. And I thought, that's it, I'm done, I can leave. No. The first month, I think after I went into a mindful studies class, mm-hmm. they said to concentrate on a beautiful picture, your most beautiful picture. So in my mind, I just saw myself, my husband, and my 3 children the way in my mind, it was the way, I didn't realize it at the time, that I remembered them as they were growing up, and we would stand around the butcher block in the kitchen table and we were preparing food. And that was in my mind. And all of a sudden the tears just started to come. And I said, thank you, you helped me. I cried for a whole month. Well, that was not the answer. It was part of the answer. It took me with a wonderful therapist, and it took me a good year and a half to come to terms. And what I'm going to say is very shocking, because everybody's different and everybody handles things in their life differently. I had to come to the realization that my family unit was dead. And what I mean by that is the family unit that I knew, the family unit, the babies I raised, the toddlers I chased, the teenagers I stayed up all night waiting for to come home from parties. That's what died. And I wouldn't accept that. They were still there. They were adults, young adults. They were still there. I loved them. They loved me. But it took me a year and a half to figure out that I had to come to terms with my family unit as it was, the way I still wanted it to be, was dead. And once I came to terms with that,
it's a grief.
Listen, it didn't do away with anxiety. I'm not going to sit here and say medication did it, that therapy did it. You have to figure it out. And one of the things I've learned, I know I will always deal with anxiety, but when it gets to the point where it's debilitating, that's where you need help. And the tools that help you figure it out. And when I figure it out, what it is that is pounding on my brain, and I figure it out and I deal with it, that anxiety is gone. And that's really what helped me.
No,
And my writing, and Dr. Damaris, if I may just say, at that point in time, writing was still my hobby. But the other thing is that to focus on something, as I did on my writing, that took me away from the anxiety. So that's when I love to talk to women and men who are dealing with this. If you can find something that you get passion from, that gives you interest, that's also a big help. So those were the big things for me. And eventually I was able to get off of the medication because I found strength in the mindfulness training that I did find. But everything was definitely an asset and a plus. And now I'm on the other side of the bridge, and I love to talk about it because it's to never give up on yourself and to get help. And I was embarrassed. That was the reason I would not get help. And that's what I want to tell your audience is forget the embarrassment. Just go get help.
I think that's really, really profound and a vulnerability and a beautifulness of what you're sharing for people, because what happens is that we become afraid to be afraid. We are shamed or thought that it's not good to have these feelings, or we want to be strong. So we think that we're not strong if we admit this. And the fact that you are admitting it and able to get help is so much stronger and so profound, because then now you've been able to now tell your story and describe an integrative approach, as I would say it, because you have realized that no one medication, no therapist, and no modality is going to just make it better. You learn to manage your treatments and realize that it may be longer, but you've seen this like level. Now you've like you called it the other side of the bridge. You've learned that when you start to get to those levels of where it becomes a little much, you probably know when to lower those triggers, correct?
Yes. And my passion of the writing, and as I say, I love to write in fantasy and create these worlds and characters. That was a big help, because if I'm concentrating on that, I'm not concentrating on me. So
that's so neat. Wow. I feel like you're going to have endless novels in there.
I hope.
So, yeah,
I always have new ideas.
And maybe even like some coaching or, helping others write.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do. I have as a matter of fact, with the my new book, with The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper, which is a fantasy adventure intertwined with Toile. When it was reviewed for high schoolers and older. So I am on, we are starting a website for young adults to help with,
I don't know what that is.
It's called the StarWriters Trilogy, because the first book in the StarWriters Trilogy, which is titled The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper, it's a fantasy adventure. That is the first in the StarWriters Trilogy. So I started a new website to help young adults, as you said, with coaching for writing and writing contests. So that's on the horizon right now. So I'm very excited about that with my writing.
Oh, it's a type of pattern, right? Is that what that is? I was trying to figure out what Toile is and I didn't know.
Oh, yes. Let me show you. Toile.
I didn't realize it was
Let me
a pattern.
Explain what Toile is. Toile is an artistic wallpaper or fabric. It's in our everyday lives, but you don't know it. And it tells a story. And I was so fascinated. I had it in my home that this is it. It does tell you a story.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And it can be anything. It could be contemporary. It can be old-fashioned. It can be whatever you want it to be, but it's two-toned. And it's so vibrant. So as I said, I had it in my home and I would walk by it and I would say, there's adventure there, there's betrayal, there's this. And I wrote a whole story about it.
Cool.
The
That's
girl
really cool.
in the Toile wallpaper. So my apologies for not explaining to your audience what Toile is.
Oh no, that's why I ask. If I don't know it, if I don't know it, then I know someone doesn't know it. Or sometimes I'll just have you clarify something that, you know, the audience may not know, but that's cool. Very cool.
Everybody has it somewhere, or you've seen it, you know what it is. You just don't know that it's called Toile, and it's been around for centuries.
I love the intricacies of that, and that finding a story within the story, and then you're using those stories to then develop your story to be better and grow.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. If there's anything I love to share with everybody is to just never give up on yourself. Never, ever.
Yeah. Your children should be so proud. You know, I know that you're saying that in your version of, you know, your past may not be there, but your children as a whole are probably so thankful for you to be their mom because of the love that you were giving to them all those years. The reason the pain had been so profound was because you didn't want to lose that, right? You know, you probably were such a good mom.
That's exactly a good way of pointing it out. And all women deal with this, and we don't realize it. You know, because
good quality moms, right? most moms, yeah.
Right. We're all, I mean, moms are all just incredible moms. And I'm lucky to have my kids too, who have gone on. And it's different now. As I said, if I've crossed that bridge and I've come to the realization that that family unit is dead, I'm at peace with it now. I'm in a totally different place with them. And that's the way it should be. They're adulting. And, you know, I'm carrying on my life now, but we're still together. And that's what I had to come to terms with.
And they're probably, and you guys will have those different beautiful moments that are going to be even, you know, even different, but, you know, its own tradition.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, that's so cool. How, would you like to leave? I'm going to call you my integrative mama over here and author, but, would you like to leave the audience first? How can they reach you?
They can reach me through my author website, www.Mary, M-A-R-Y-K, Savarese, SAVARESE.com, MaryKSavarese.com. And there's everything about me there. If they want to get in touch with me, they can sign up for a newsletter, for monthly offerings, and they'll get the information about my books, and it links to my websites. And that's probably the easiest way to do it. And if they want to connect with me, they can easily do it through that. Great. And I just want to let them know that I am a traditionally published fiction author who loves to write, as I said, in fantasy. My debut novel was a mystery romance intertwined with the supernatural. And as I said, I love to write with quirky titles. So the title of that book, are you ready, is Tigers Love, Bubble Baths, and Obsession Perfume. Who knew? And that came about, that title, because I visited a wildlife preserve in St. Augustine, Florida, and I watched a 600-pound Siberian tiger walk across the plank, take off his robe, and slip into a bubble bath where the wildlife handler sprayed Obsession Perfume on his tongue and he lapped it up. And I said to myself, there's a story that I can write around that title, and people love the title. So if you love mysteries and romance and little supernatural twists, you'll love that. And then my second book, the first in the trilogy, is The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper. That is a fantasy adventure intertwined with romance, and U.S. Review of Books compared it to Doctor Who and A Wrinkle in Time. So I'm very humbled by that.
Oh, that's so cool. Very exciting for you.
And Dr. Damaris, that's what gives me the energy and the passion, because if you find your energy and your passion, and it doesn't have to be writing, it could be anything, cooking, gardening, right, helping other people, podcasts, doing what you do. I could never do what you do. But if this is a passion that you have in your life, that will help you through very difficult times.
Yeah, it's definitely part of my passion project. Part of
Yeah.
my overall, the mindfully integrative brand, I guess,
Yes.
has been part of a passion project for sure. Let me tell you. But yeah, you're right. When you do things that give you more purpose and growth and love, then the other things start to become easier to grow and get through. And I thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Of course. And thank you guys for joining us on the Mindfully Integrative Show. And make sure that you find a mindful way each and every day.
Thank you for listening to the Mindfully Integrative Show with Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, family nurse practitioner. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not the substitute for professional medical advice, diagnose or treat. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your healthcare routine. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you enjoyed our show, please support us by leaving a mindful review on Apple Podcast or your favorite streaming platform. Interested in being a guest or more information? Email us at info@mindfullyintegrative.com. For resources mentioned in the show, visit our website at www.mindfullyintegrative.com. You can also connect mindfully with Dr. Damaris on her social media links found on the site. May your strength and peace guide you to find a mindful way every day. Namaste.